Good morning, church. It's always a fun thing to have to interrupt you from having a conversation because that means that you're engaging well with people. So thanks for doing that. Today we're going to start talking about Burkina missions. And Marcus, if you got that, there you go. Our church partnership. And so we've been doing this. We were doing this before 2019. And actually, it's 2 years ago. At this time, we were in Burkina Faso with Ryan Simmons and Pete Hutchinson and myself, along with Jeremy. And we were kind of checking things out. And we were there for a week or so. Jeremy had been there a week prior to that. And then got back, and COVID hit. And then everything the wheels kind of came off of everything. So we're trying to get back into the swing of things in terms of doing some focused partnership with the church in Burkina. It's in a different location. The church from Guimbilla, which we had participated with and that we had helped build their church, terrorists came in from the northeast, and kind of are moving slowly across, or rapidly, I guess, across the country. And so those people became refugees, and many of them abandoned their homes with whatever they could carry with them, and they've gone to different places. And one of those places is in Kaya, which is a city that we were able to visit as well. And they're still refugees. And so these people are dealing with nothing. They have nothing. And but we're wanting to kind of connect with them and see how we can kind of re-up things with them, because they're greatly in need of resources and help. And we've got some resources and help too. There's a friend of ours, Kent Redfern, up in Muldoon, Alaska, who's been very gracious to help us with what they've done in Burkina as well. So we're just really thrilled. One of the reasons I asked this is because Mary and Jeremy are heading to Burkina on the middle part of this month. And so I'm excited for them. Lori and I get to watch the twins. You think I look rough now, wait until then. So, but we're looking forward to it. But I just thought it'd be great to ask Jeremy some questions about Burkina, because he talks to his dad and his family all the time. And so next slide, if you could, Marcus. This is Jeremy. You can tell it's wintertime because he's bundling up. But Jeremy is a chartered financial consultant, and he's got his MBA, and he's a financial planner by profession, and he's a son-in-law. He's a son-in-law who I'm going to go live with, So that's how this is going to work. Okay, all right.
We'll talk about that later.
Is your microphone on?
I think it is. Is it on?
Is he
Hello.
on?
I think it's on.
Okay, he's on. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I'm
All right, we
live.
won't repeat that then. All right, so next slide, Marcus, please. So that's the Burkina flag, and then the next one is, in case you don't know where Burkina is at, it's in West Africa, and it's right above Ghana and Ivory Coast. But like I said, it deals with a lot with terrorism that's rampant, and it has a lot of political overtones. It's not so much Muslim Christian as it is in terms of politics. Burkina was a French colony, and they got their independence, but there's been meddling by the French ever since. Is that? Well, you won't even get you on start on that. So anyway, but as a result, there's a lot of people that are displaced. It's a very poor economy, so even if you're well educated, there's not a lot to do. The average standard of living or income is around $700-800 a year. So there's not a lot. I mean, and you pretty much have people who either have doing well or people who are not. There's not much in between. So one of the things that we've done is that we kind of help participate with the building, help them get their building built. We've also sent some money to help them buy grain to feed people. One of the challenges is getting money over there without it seeming like we're sending drug money to people. So there's there's some challenges.
Or supporting terrorists.
Or supporting the terrorists. There's that thing too. So there we go. So anyway, we just thought we'd ask Jeremy some questions, and then at some point, if you at the end, if you have some questions that you'd like to ask, we'll take some questions from the crowd too, if you'd like to do that. So so Jeremy, let me just ask by just quickly talking really quick about the terrorists again, about how that has affected and is still affecting things going on today.
All right. Thank you for having me today. Just to give you a quick background of how everything started. I moved here back in 2014, and then 2 years later, 2016, it started. And we've never had any problem with that. We heard about it happening somewhere else, but never in Burkina. So it was in Mali, and then spread across all the way to the north, which we are bordered with Mali and Niger. So there is a big Sahara portion where they are. Nobody lives there but them. So they have the land to themselves. So right now it's gotten bad, I would say worse, because nothing's getting better. Every day it's just the same thing, people fleeing, and yeah.
Okay. Marcus, you got that next slide, please? So this is part of the people that came out of Guimbilla are in Kaya. Again, they're in refugee camps. And this is a portion of Jeremy's father's church people that came out of Guimbilla. They're in Kaya. And they're in the process of building another church, which looks remarkably like the one that they built in Guimbilla. And they're in the process of trying to come together and reach people. And what's the situation there with your dad in terms of congregation, people, what they've gone through, and trying to get back together or trying to reach out to people who are displaced?
Well, when they moved to Kaya, some stayed in Barsalago, which are the biggest, second largest cities after Guimbilla. But most of them, they're in Kaya, which is like the state, the headquarters of the state, like Seattle. So Dad is in a church of Pastor Theodore, who is the superintendent of that state of the AG church. And they have 5 pastors in staff, and fortunately he added that as one of the staff members, so they preach once a month and rotating. So Pastor Theodore is building a church, trying to give that to Dad, which you can imagine what can happen if you have already 4 pastors, and that intruder, you were building a separate church for him. Yeah, anyways.
You mean there's ego and jealousy in Burkina?
I think it's only in Burkina that we have that. We don't have that here. So the pastor, he's wealthy. He has schools and hospitals, so he was able to build the church himself without the help of his congregation. So that will make it easier for Dad to get that church going. So the plan is to have his church members go to that church. Because even when we went last time, you remember we met with them, and they didn't want to go to Pastor Theodore's church because the style is different. They're used to the village style. You can understand when you go to a mega church with the worship style, and here it's different. So it's the same idea. So they didn't want to go there, so they went to different churches where they feel connected. But that said, if that was to lead that church, they will all go back to that church. So that's the plan for now. I don't know if it's going to be the truth or not. I reserve myself until I see it come to pass. So, yeah, they are.
What are some of the challenges especially that they're dealing with right now? The people of the congregations, the people that your dad's trying to reach and connect with, and Pastor Theodore as well. I mean, where are the main challenges that they're dealing with?
Well, there are quite a few, as you can imagine. This is like 1/3 of the church, because last time when Pastor Rod told me that he wanted to interview me, I called that, and he was able to gather those people to take the picture you can see. So currently they are in refugee camps with.
Did you see that big white thing in
Oh
the
yes,
back?
yes. You can see that. Yeah.
It's a refugee tent?
Yeah, it's a tent. Yeah. Yeah. So you can imagine people living in places like that. And the biggest challenge they have right now is food, because at the very beginning, the government, churches, and nonprofit organizations, they were able to supply constantly. But people are getting tired because it's taking longer, because we're hoping that it would have been settled by a year and a half, but it's still going on. So the government itself is struggling to keep up. So are the churches. And they told me that that is the biggest challenge for them to have food, because in reality, even if they were in the village still, it's not easy to get proper things, let alone you abandon everything. And in the city, it's like you leaving Arlington, moving to downtown Seattle. So you're not part of, that's just an intruder, you know.
You're not connected.
There is no connection. They have no training skills to provide, because they live off the land, 100%, and there's no land to cultivate anything, and that's what they rely on. And the government is slowing down, as I told you, to provide even for the food. And the second challenge is the schooling, because, you know, they move the kids. And if you can't feed yourself, how can you even provide to send your kid to school? So that's a doom for the future. And the third challenge is the tents and where to stay, because you have to cope with a lot of people and different situations. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah. And you're dealing with jealousy, and everyone's trying to get their piece of something, and that the United Nations doesn't really have a presence there.
No, they're not helpful at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, nothing's happening in that.
We don't want them there anyways. They make things worse.
Okay, let's stop the No, I'm just kidding. All right. So
Disregard that comment.
There we go. There we go. Yeah. We'll do a disclaimer later. So what are the things that we can do best as a church in terms of partnering or trying to help? Because there are times where, you know, just giving people money, we talked about that. That doesn't necessarily do anything except make people dependent upon you. Yeah. How can we help and do things in a better way?
Well, I thought about that myself, how I can help them. So one way is after kind of feeding them and helping with the kids, is to help them be independent financially. And there's so many ways we can do that, which comes up with money, which is the biggest problem. We can help with microloans, with them starting to grow or start businesses like chicken, raising chicken and goat and sheep to resell. So in the long term, I was personally thinking, not with, if I was able to like buy a big land, and build some slots so they can all come there, and you can kind of rent it and microloan some money and then finance the poultry or whatever you want to start, and then they can pay the principal in a year, and then you can take that to loan over people. And then whatever they made, they can live off that to be independent financially. Because I don't think in the long run it's a good idea to keep sending and sending and sending. You have to develop a way to help them be financially independent,
Right.
which is more realistic than sending and sending.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the thing about, do you want to just give somebody a fish or teach them how to fish?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. The problem is that land has to be purchased
And
to,
it's expensive
to do
because,
something like that, yeah.
yeah, because we have had a lot of people move in the city,
Right,
so the land has become like very expensive.
right.
Yeah.
And so, and when we think, Marcus, are you there? Can you go one more slide? Okay, so that's typically what the land looks like. So it's not like there's a lot of grass, for pasture land and stuff. I mean, so it's challenging. So even if you get a big enough piece, there's not like there's a lot of water. I mean, this is a sub-Saharan area. It's very warm, and it's a lot of red dust everywhere. So the idea then that Jeremy's talking about is that one way to help, I mean, it's one thing to help a church, and we can give money for food, and we've done that. We can maybe do that again, but if you make people dependent upon you, then they don't grow. We don't want to just be a welfare or a handout kind of thing. We want to help people to do better. We do have some resources in terms of some people that have an ongoing ministry. They're based out of Alaska, and we've done some initial consultation with them, and they've got some really great resources. So we'll connect with them again. But as Jeremy is talking, there's there's a building that's needed. There's food that's needed. There's jobs that are needed because there's no economy, so to speak. It's pretty much things are sprouting up all over on the street corners. But how do you help people build a sustainable economy, even if it's a small thing like raising chickens or goats or sheep or what? I don't even think I saw a sheep when we were over there. Just goats.
You didn't go to the village. You stayed in the city.
Well, just wherever you took me. Yeah.
They don't do that in the cities.
Okay, they don't do that in the city. All right. So, but whatever is out there, and but I mean, there's some strategies that could be involved. Now, what we've done in the past, we did just something real simple like coin collections, and that worked good. That was great. On the earlier Zoom call, Zoom service, someone asked the question about, well, how much does it cost to educate somebody, a student, because you have to pay for students to go there. There's no free education, right?
No.
Okay.
So I was a teacher myself. I taught high school for 5 years before moving here. And depending on the school, because every school has its own fee structure, and it can vary between $200 to $500 or $1,000 depending on the school. So average, I would say $200 per student per year. And in the Zoom, Colin was asking if there was a possibility to sponsor a kid and just follow that kid. I'm like, I didn't even think about all these details, but yeah, we can talk about it and kind of see realistically how we can do it, because there's so many constraints that we need to think about, not to create the chaos,
Well, one of the problems is that, okay, great, that's a great idea. We'll sponsor somebody. Who gets to be the lucky kid? Again, creating jealousy and envy and opportunity and favored status. One of the things that Jeremy just kind of glossed over a little bit was about the idea that any money that's distributed would be as a micro loan, so that people have to be involved in the process to pay it back. Otherwise, it just gets blown. Did I say that the right way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's anything that is given for free is free. So you spend it for free. But when you have the idea of you have to pay it back, then they take it seriously.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So doing something along those lines. So it just takes the level of our involvement in missions a little bit higher, because we do a lot of our missions through Assemblies of God World Missions. They have the systems set up to make those things happen. They have accountability. They have partnerships and people on the ground in various places, but this is kind of above and just in a different direction, different channel of being engaged in this. And so we would be the people, and that's why we were reaching out to like the Muldoon Church to participate with them, and they've been very gracious over the years to give us wisdom and insight. So we'd look to them for some things that they've done as well, but they're connected to some bigger churches that are there on site in Ouagadougou, which is the capital of Burkina Faso as well. So anyway, we're looking at, starting next week, we'll have the coin collections, canisters as well to begin that process. If anyone wants to do something on a monthly basis above and beyond our regular missions, that's great. Again, one of our challenges is making sure that we are able to get monies transferred from here to Burkina that doesn't put either Jeremy at risk, our church at risk, or Jeremy's father at risk in terms of becoming a target that is known packing money around, or that triggers the IRS or any of the internal government structures that make them think that we're funding gun running or terrorist activities.
Here, I'm not worried about here. It's back home that I'm worried about. Because if it's going from the church to the church, the IRS thinks it's a qualified charitable contribution. So it's here, I'm not worried. It's back home that they still trace everything to see if it's you funding the terrorists. That's the only concern they have.
Okay.
And if it's going to the church, then it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not worried about it. My bookkeeper's worried about it. So that's all right. That's good. That's good. So what other suggestions do you think that we could be more effective as partners for the people in Burkina? By the way, he's going to a wedding in a week, his brother's wedding. There's going to be over 1,000 people at the wedding. Starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock in the morning and goes till 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah, we celebrate. We take a long time to celebrate. Yes.
Yeah, party. That's right. Party. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
moving off.
The praise is always needed because it's heartbreaking to see where you've lived, growing up, that is taken over by people with bad intention and killing innocent people. So I believe strongly that the prayer, as you mentioned previously, that regardless of how short it is, it's impactful. If everyone was just saying a 1-minute prayer, that makes a big difference because there is power that goes on in the spiritual realm that we don't understand. And that's where the changes start first. The changes always start in the spiritual realm. So when God does something, then we get to see it in physical. So that's the key that is needed, not just for Burkina, but all the nations that are going through the same situation. And if you have suggestions or questions, you can reach out to Pastor Rod or me, and because I know what I see or what I hear, but you might have a better idea how to do things than what I think.
Yeah.
That's why we're brainstorming to see what's the best way to help people help themselves. You know, it's not like I'm the savior that is going to save them, but, you know, whatever we can do to be helpful with suggestions and wisdom and, yeah.
Well, you were wishing you were like Bill Gates, rich as all get out. Financially,
yes.
Yeah, not financially. Thanks,
Yes.
good distinction.
Yes, so I can just go and, you know, and do my thing.
Yeah. But you also mentioned that even just a little bit makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, even among the people in Burkina, right?
Yeah, so we have, I was listening to a message of one of our biggest pastors, and he was saying that we could help the government combat terrorists on top of the prayer. And he said the poorest can give 2 cents, and the wealthiest can give 1,000, 2,000, 10,000. And if they give that, they can buy helicopters and tanks and whatever they need to do it. But if we're sitting there and just saying, oh man, God help us, nothing's happening. So meaning whatever we have or what we can do always help, regardless of how little or big it is.
So participation and investing in what's
active
going on.
participation, yeah.
Okay, good. So we just wanted to open up and see if anyone had a question that they wanted to ask. Dave, yeah.
It seems to me that lack of water must be a huge issue.
They do have that.
For irrigation and feeding the animals, you know, if you give them chickens or goats or ducks, they need water to feed them.
Yep.
Can we drill wells, or are they too far down, too deep? How can we get water to them? Is that one of the problems?
That's a great question. So in the city, they have wells. They can go in the city, but they're living outside the city. So they have to go in the city to get the water. But if, like you said, if we're able to buy a lot, then we can build a wall, not a wall, a well that will be sustainable for them to use that on themselves, and then whatever they want to use it for, to raise the chicken and whatever they want to use it for.
Good.
Great question.
Don,
Yeah.
you had some?
That was my question about well drilling.
Oh,
You have to own the property to be able to drill the well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to control who uses the well.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother jealousy, envy issue that you have to maintain control.
You said the land was expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us an idea of US dollars, what we're talking?
Oh boy. It's going to be estimates, and I'm not sure because the land it's not like here that everything is on papers and it's somebody comes and depending on who wants to buy it, if they know like it's me, oh, he's American, so let's sell him twice the price. So there's no magic number, but I can say if you want a big lot that will make sense, it's, oh boy,
10,000?
10,000 at least. That would be like a little, like very tiny. Yeah. So as I said, it's expensive because of the refugees that moved. So some that had money, they're buying, and the landowners, they're jacking up the prices to make some money too. So yeah. So I would say 10,000 to 50 US, depending on the how big is the land. Yeah.
Can't the church own the property if it's bought?
I'm not sure.
In other words, it's.
Can we own the property? Yeah.
What's the question?
Can Pastor Theodore's church own that property if to do that?
They have the money to buy it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If you have the, yep.
Be a cause for jealousy other than from other cities.
No, if you buy it, you own it. You go through the legal process and you get the right paperwork and you're good. Yeah.
And by the way, Jeremy's been here long enough that they consider him to be American. No, I mean, if he goes back, they gouge him because they recognize that he's been here in America, so.
Yeah, that's true. I can't hide anymore. Wherever I go, no matter, even if I change my clothes, they look at me and they know they can recognize me, which is weird.
It's a nice.
But did someone else have a question over here?
Dan.
Dan, did you have?
Yes, looking at your picture, I see the trees are kind of all leaning the same way. I was wondering if there's a lot of wind in that country,
A lot of what? Wind?
Wind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so you could put up windmills for.
There's a lot of wind depending on the season. Yeah.
no,
So there are months that the wind is very strong and
Lines, maybe you could put up solar power so that it would be.
yeah, Yeah.
You know, all
If
that, all that stuff is getting stuff in. you
Yeah,
know?
if you have the idea, you can get your stuff in a container, ship it in, and install it when you buy the land. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
You talked about the cost of putting students through an education there in Paso. Is there a possibility of providing free education by paying for a teacher and a location and supplies?
So that's an excellent question, and I'll explain that because I myself, I was thinking about if I had the means, because I was a teacher, and legally back home I could build a private school myself because I have the knowledge to teach, and the government can allow me to build a private school that I own. So if I'm able to do that, the only thing is to pay the teachers a lot of money to teach the kids. Yeah, that's a big possibility. So if I'm able to buy a land, build a school, then I can get teachers to teach them for free.
What would be the cost to pay a teacher for a year?
It all depends. You have to pay them a lot so that they won't go to the government to work for the government if it's private. So, 1,000 and more,
How much?
just 1,000 and more. Hold on.
$1,000
No, that's not. You said a year.
a year?
It's different. A month, I would say 600 to 700
A month?
a month.
Okay.
Yeah. And in order to, depending on how many students you have, I have had classrooms of 30 students to 100 students in one classroom.
Their strategy of education is way different from ours as
Yes.
well.
So, and you need at least 6 full-time teachers to sustain a given set of classrooms, and so to give you an idea.
So, okay. Great
You know,
question.
you need
Good question.
a principal and secretaries and supervisors to do all that.
So creating an economy actually is what
Yes,
you're doing.
yeah. So
okay.
like at least 10 staff members, yeah.
Dave?
Couple different questions.
Sure.
What is the religion that has them in so much bondage? Is it Muslim?
Muslims are 62% of the population. Yeah, that is actually good because back in the days when they were doing the war, because you know they come and they force you to become Muslim or they kill you. But my ethnic group, they resisted them for a long time, for decades. That's why it's only 62. When you go to Mali, it's 98. Niger, same thing. But the 62 is actually great because my ethnic group were able to resist them for a long time until now. So it's still good.
And one other question was handed to me. How do you secure property, animals, and possessions? How do you secure it?
How do you keep them safe and so they're not ripped off? Is that,
Well, when you buy the land, you can build a wall around it right away, and that will secure it. Just, you have the paperwork, but still people, because it's an open land, anybody can come and build something, and it's yours, but you don't want any drama, so just build a wall around it to secure it, and then, yeah, you're good.
okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Good questions. And Jeremy's around. He's shy. He doesn't like to talk much, but he'd talk with you if you need to.
Well,
so.
I'm shy because I'm talking about my country, so it's a different levels.
That's
If I
right.
was talking about France or
Oh, let's not go
or
there. We won't go
another
there.
country, it's easy to just,
Just go off on it.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, thanks. Good questions, and please feel free to ask anytime. But we just want to try to, again, try to help as best we possibly can people who are in need. And I just think it's wonderful that we open up our eyes and that we see what's going on around the world. There are so many places, and you can't help everybody. You can't do everything. We just don't have the resources and stuff. But we can certainly pray. That's one thing we can do. And we can certainly invest in the places in the areas where we have opportunity to do so. And so we want to do the best we can with what we have and believe that God's able to do more and, again, become wiser and at strategies and partnering with people and other churches that are doing great things that have done that have worked well. And so, again, one of the things is it'll be interesting to talk with Jeremy and Mary when they come back from their trip to kind of see how things have happened. One last question. How has COVID affected Burkina?
I would say it's a funny question because people don't care about COVID back home. That's the short answer. They don't care. They don't even talk about it because it's not a big deal. They worry about more bigger stuff than COVID. And I don't know any single person that died of COVID back home, and nobody knows one person who died of COVID back home. So there we go.
There we go. There's other stuff that'll kill you. All right. So, hey, let's just pray together and ask God to not only be with the people in Burkina, but also that God would guide our lives and our minds as to how we can best be resources. Thanks, Jeremy, for sharing and putting up with me. So appreciate that.
It's okay. We still have a long way to go.
Pastor Appreciation Day. All right. We better pray. Thanks, God, for your love and for your great care. We just pray that you would just, Lord, give us greater hearts of compassion, not only for people of Burkina, but for people around us as well. Lord, help us to see with great eyes of compassion and wisdom. Give us guidance and direction as to what we can do, what we should do, what's a smart way to use money, and God, and lead us in those directions. I pray, Lord, that those who can give financially, Lord, that we would have that willingness and that desire to do so. Lord, that those who can't, Lord, that there would be a heart to pray and to invest in the heavenlies, Lord, with to set people free because of what you do. And so, Lord, we pray that you'd be at work in our hearts and in our lives. Allow you to lead us and guide us in all things that are beneficial. And so, Lord, pour out your Spirit upon us. God, give us a greater heart for others than ever before. And God, that you'd be at work in our lives. Pray especially with Jeremy and with Mary. And God, as they go back, that they would have eyes to see new things. And God, I pray that you give them favor and great influence with those who they get a chance to talk with about opportunities and things that might be happening in the future. And God, that you would just guide their conversations and keep them all safe, Lord, we pray. In Jesus' wonderful name, amen.
Amen.
Hey, let's stand, and Lori's going to close us in.
One with God the Lord Most High, your hidden glory